There's people out there that can do it better than I can. But what I can tell you is my experience with them. So if you don't know where to start, I would make these your first two microphones. Then don't buy any more cheap microphones after that. Well, and I don't like to use the word cheap because just because a microphone is, you can't judge a microphone by its price range. You really should be judging it on its frequency range and how well it does it. And you should be also judging it on tool to the job. That I can't stress enough. Often we musicians buy what we think is cool and we'll do the job, and often we spend a lot of money finding out that it's not. So if you want to do vocals, you got to look at what the professionals are using for vocals and what is the cheaper alternatives and how do they compare. Like, for example, you might find, say, all the sub $100 microphones between a $10,000 microphone and a sub $100 microphone. You might find that there's a huge difference, right? And for that money, there better be, right? But you might find between, say, like a $4,000 microphone and a $10,000 microphone, the difference is only that much. You know what I mean? But you also might find, say, microphones, say, sub 500, over $100, but under $500 are like maybe only that much difference from the $10,000 microphone, and that might actually just do everything you need it to do. The rest, being EQing and just, actual raw talent of, or I don't like to say raw talent. There's no such thing as raw talent. I mean, there's no such thing as raw talent. Even with vocals, like you have to work at it. Just for some people, it's easier than others to get. Some guitar players, after 6 months, they're playing like Steve Vai or Yngwie. And some guitar players play their entire life and they never achieve that, right? It's all how you practice. Sometimes it's just how you learn makes the difference in, exposure to stuff and whatever. Well, vocals is the same thing. Not everybody has a golden voice, but anybody can learn to sing. And if you learn how to sing, somebody with a golden voice who has no vocal training and hasn't built their voice up properly will probably still not get as far as somebody without a golden voice but knows how to dynamically use their voice without damaging it and stuff like that. There's a lot of guys from the 80s and 90s, and you could say this in the guitar, you could say this in the bass and the vocals and drums. There's a lot of guys that, because there was no YouTube tutorials and stuff like that to really explain why you do things one way or another way, a lot of guys didn't take lessons. A lot of guys didn't take vocal lessons. I myself never took vocal lessons by an instructor, but I bought lots of books on it and stuff like that. And of course, I'm always seeking new knowledge, right? So that I don't damage my voice and I get better at it. I'm not saying I got a great voice, but I'm saying that I can sing, hold notes, and I can do a lot more than most people I know that never have trained, because they don't know, well, you don't know what you don't know. And with the guitar, it's the same thing. There's a lot of guys that used to be super shredders in the 80s and 90s, really fast guitar playing, but they had bad technique, and now their hands are screwed up and they got carpal tunnel syndrome and stuff like that. Same with drummers. There is ways to learn these instruments without damaging yourself, right? And well, it comes the same with vocals. The one thing about most vocals, I've met many people that are great singers, beautiful vocals, no idea how to use a microphone on the stage. You know what I mean? And it's a different animal. It is a different animal. Even myself, I'm still, even though I do a lot more singing nowadays, even though I haven't been on stage in about a year or so, but well, the past couple of years, everybody knows what's going on. But like 2019, I think I, went to like 18 or 19 jam nights, so on stage for about 15 minutes at a time. The first time you go on stage, you're still trying to figure out where you got to be on the mic, right? And sometimes you forget about that too, after you haven't played it live in a while. And then it's like after the third or fourth songs, oh yeah, I got to get on the mic a bit more. People, hey, I can't hear you singing in that thing, and it's one of those things that it is a tool, it is an instrument in itself. You get too close to the mic and you don't have it adjusted right, it can sound absolutely horrible, no matter who, even if you have somebody as incredible as Floor Jansen singing through it. You know what I mean? Like if you put her through an SM57, she's going to be impressive for what it is. right? But she's not going to be able to do the things she normally does, because she's going to have to work a lot harder to get there, and the mic simply just can't get there, right? You know, like you're singing through a 20-watt PA system. With any mic, it doesn't really matter what it is. It's not going to produce you the results you would like, right? So that's the thing a lot of people don't realize. Like with a lot of bands you see live, you know, local bands, their sound is always kind of, you know, like first off, usually nothing's ever mic'd other than the vocals and maybe the bass drum. That's about it. And it's like usually the drummer's playing too loud and overpowering the PA system. The bass player's way too much low end and just muddying everything up on one side of the stage. So all you hear is bass on one side of the stage, and all you hear is a little bit of guitar on the other side of the stage. And a lot of times guitar players don't play with enough mids, and all you hear is like, it sounds like they're playing in a tunnel. You just hear noise on one side of the stage, but you can't discern what it is. And it's a really bad sound live, even though they might be playing well, right? So learning how to use these tools will also learn you the limitations of these tools. So for the SM57, I kind of know what it can do and what it can't do without a DI box. Most people do. It's like, okay, yeah, these things, yeah, don't move them a certain way. Don't touch them when they're not in a DI box, because if they're not on a DI box on stage, a lot of times you just get so much low end frequency. They just sit there and they hum on you, right? And a lot of people don't understand, like you need to be able to, you know, you need to be able to tame those things. Well, the studio is the same thing. It's just, it's done in a different way where, you know, with the studio, you get all this clarity, and you're not dealing with the volume because it's whatever with the mics. But one thing you're dealing with is you and the, you know, and peaks the signal. There's certain vowels, there's certain letters that just really distort the crap out of a mic, no matter how soft you sing in them. And that's where you find out what, you know, where the actual character of the mic. And a lot of people don't realize that. But once you start realizing that, it's like, geez, you know, I can't EQ that out. What do I do? You know, it's like if I pull back the gain, then, you know, it sounds weak, and then I got to get too close to the mic, and then it creates other problems. And then there's other ones where it's like, okay, well, you're just too close to the mic. You got to back off so you don't peak it. So you need something that can pick you up like this, right? But not so focused in on like that it's too quiet and whatever, and you have to get too close to it. So you need something that will basically do like this, where it catches you out here, whatever. Like this mic, you can sing out over at the wall there. It'll still pick you up pretty good. These things are quite, you know, they're quite good. It's just not going to be very powerful. But let's say you want to sing back here, so you're not going, you know, and peaking the signal all the time. But you need something that will have this kind of focus and not catch anything back here or here or here. So you need to basically turn this into this and this into this at the same time. So you're talking about a different type of mic altogether. And then the type of mic, you know, the cardioid, you know, versus the, what call those, the ribbon mics or whatever. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. That's why, like, my next mic might be an SM27. It might be something else, you know. There was the 141 and the SM57, SM27 really kind of piqued my interest for vocals, right? But there might be a lot of, you know, like there's a lot of other mic brands out there that might, like there's a couple of Rode mics that really seem really phenomenal for vocals. They'll give you a nice big full clear vocal, and you don't need a really outrageous amount of gain to pick you up, which means you can get a clear, fuller sound, you know, and they're within, you know, a better price range. But typically when you're talking studio mics, the price goes up. You know, live mics like these really are more suited for live music than they are for studio. But it's just, they're useful enough that you can get away with it. So this is a great place to start, and definitely mics that I would definitely recommend to have in your arsenal. But, you know, I think if you're going to pull in a third mic, make it a really good studio mic. You know, You can get away with guitar cabs for a long time with this before you have to replace it, because it'll pick up guitar cabs or acoustic guitars or whatever really, really well. Yes, there's better things out there, but you know, this is a good live mic. Again, my Mesa Boogie's been mic'd with these things many times live, and I really, really know that, you know, like you can't go wrong with them that way. They might not be the best thing, but they get the job done really well. So again, jack of all trades mics. There's a reason why they're that popular. If they really sucked, nobody would buy them, right? I know there's a lot of that. Sometimes, you know, you'll buy stuff because of the reputation on it. But I mean, this mic here wasn't that expensive. You know, like it was a little over $100. I'm sure you can get, again, better for cheaper if you really hunt around. But you know that without thinking about it, this is the easy way to go. But going up from here, this is where picking mics you got to do your research. So again, you're not just doing a lot of trial and error. But what you will also discover, like especially if you're like into acoustic instruments, no two acoustic instruments, especially if you're into like say violins, for example, no two violins sound exactly alike. You know, and to say one's better than the other, sometimes it's not that cut and dry. And simple. Well, does this one just sound better than the other? No, it sounds totally different. One's dark and scary sounding, the other one's bright and lively sounding. You can't compare the two, right? Well, mics are kind of like that too. They will have a characteristic to them. And again, the more time you spend with it, the more you hear the character of them, the more you can get out of them. So